"Don't look back," Bruno Mars's voice cracked in the darkness, just as the car came to a sudden stop and Risse's breath caught in her chest. Streetlights swept across the windshield like flashes of memories that could no longer be avoided. The engine was still running, humming softly, and inside the car there were only 3 breaths colliding without sound. Bruno's hand held Risse's, tight, warm, as if the world outside had already collapsed and all that remained was the rhythm of their hearts, no longer in sync with reality. In the back seat, Jennie lowered her head, her fingers gripping the small bag on her lap, nails digging into her skin until it hurt, holding back something far more painful than any physical wound. That night was never supposed to end like this. It was meant to be a quiet ride home after a long rehearsal, tired laughter, light conversation. But one sentence, one touch, changed everything. Risse could feel Bruno's palm trembling, not from the cold, but from a decision that could not be undone. There was the smell of gasoline, rain lingering in the air, and mixed perfume, an aroma she would remember forever as the scent of goodbye to the life she once knew. Jennie knew this moment would come even before she saw it. She had always known. Since Bruno's gaze no longer searched for her face when he laughed, since the songs she heard in the studio always ended on a note that led to a name that was not hers. She loved in silence, for too long, too deeply, and friendship became the cruelest excuse to keep holding on. In the back seat, she closed her eyes, tears falling without sound, soaking into the black fabric that absorbed everything, just like her heart. Risse turned slightly, her reflection meeting Jennie's shadow in the rearview mirror. There was an apology there, a guilt that could not be spoken. She loved Bruno in a way she had never planned, arriving slowly, growing quietly, then exploding at the worst possible moment. She loved Jennie as a friend, as family built from stage to stage, from dream to dream. And now those two loves collided in a narrow space called a car, in the middle of a night that refused to offer answers. Bruno took a deep breath, his chest rising and falling as if every inhale were a battle. He hated himself for choosing, yet hated even more the lie he had almost continued living. His songs had always been honest. Tonight, his life demanded the same truth. He tightened his grip, his thumb brushing the back of Risse's hand in a small movement filled with promise. "I can't keep pretending," he said softly, not for the world to hear, but to confess the truth to himself. Silence followed, heavy, pressing. Outside, rain began to fall, tiny drops hitting the roof like the ticking of a clock counting down. Jennie opened her eyes. She stared at the back of the front seat, her lips trembling, yet a faint smile appeared, a smile learned from the stage, a smile that hid the cracks. She knew her love was not chosen, and it was not because she was lacking, but because love was never fair. In a voice that was barely there, she said, "You don't have to explain anything." Those words cut deeper than any scream. Risse covered her mouth, her shoulders shaking, and Bruno closed his eyes. In that moment, the silent car became a witness. Chosen love found its form, and the deepest heartbreak found its home. There were no heroes, no villains, only 3 humans learning that loving sometimes means hurting, and surviving means letting go. As the car moved again, the night slowly swallowed them. The rain erased the tire tracks on the road, but it would never erase the memory. In the front seat, Bruno and Risse's hands remained intertwined, no longer a secret, but a decision. In the back, Jennie wiped away her tears, straightened her posture, and carried that wound with grace, choosing to keep loving the world even as her own love fell apart. The car did not stop at the dorm. It kept moving, cutting through the city as neon lights smeared across the windows like wounds that refused to close. Bruno's jaw was tight, his hands locked on the steering wheel now, the earlier tenderness replaced by a tension that felt combustible. Risse watched his profile, every muscle drawn sharp, and for the first time since the silence broke, she spoke. "You don't get to decide alone," she said, her voice shaking but clear. "Not like that, not with her right there." Jennie let out a dry laugh from the back seat, the kind that carried more pain than humor. "It's fine," she said quickly, too quickly. "Really, I've been pretending for years. One more night won't kill me." Bruno slammed the brakes. The car lurched, tires screeching, and the sudden violence of the stop sent Risse forward. Her heart hammered as Bruno turned, eyes blazing, not with anger but with something rawer, uglier. "Don't say that," he snapped. "Don't make it sound small, this isn't small." Then what is it? Jennie shot back, her voice finally cracking. She leaned forward between the seats, her face pale, eyes glossy, unafraid now. Say it. Say it out loud, Bruno. Say who you love. The name sat in his throat like glass. Risset felt it before he spoke, felt the weight of inevitability, the way the universe narrowed. She wanted to disappear, to rewind, to undo the night, but instead she reached out and rested her palm against the dashboard, grounding herself. I love Risset, Bruno said. The words were not shouted. They were devastating because they were calm. Jennie stared at him, unmoving, as if her body hadn't yet received the message. Then she smiled, a wide, beautiful, completely broken smile. Wow, she whispered. You practiced that, didn't you? That's not fair, Risset said immediately, turning in her seat. Jennie, I never wanted this to hurt you. I know, Jennie replied softly. That's the worst part. You're both good people, and I still lose. She opened the car door before either of them could stop her. Rain rushed in, cold and loud. Bruno swore and got out after her, grabbing her wrist gently but firmly. Don't walk away like this. She yanked her hand back. Like what? Dignified. Because if I stay, I'm going to say things I can't take back. Say them, he said. I deserve it. Jennie laughed again, this time bitter. You don't even know half of it. Do you know how many songs I convinced myself were about me? How many times I told myself your silence was just fear, not rejection? Bruno's shoulders sagged. Jennie. No, she cut in. Let me finish, because this is the last time I let myself bleed quietly. Risset stepped out too, rain soaking her hair, her clothes, her heart. She stood there, shaking, watching the two people she loved most tear open something that had been festering for years. I watched you fall in love with her, Jennie continued, voice rising. In studios, on tour buses, in stupid little moments no one else noticed. And I stayed, because I thought if I stayed long enough, you'd look back. Bruno closed his eyes. I'm sorry. I know, Jennie said. Her voice softened suddenly, dangerously. And I hate that you're sorry, because it means it's real. Silence followed, filled only by rain and breath and the distant hum of traffic. Risset stepped forward. If walking away is what you need, she said to Jennie, tears mixing with rain on her cheeks, I'll understand, but please don't think you weren't loved. You were, you are. Jennie turned to her, eyes blazing. That's not the same, and you know it. Then she exhaled, long and shaky, and something inside her seemed to collapse inward. But it's enough to let me go. She stepped back, hands raised slightly as if surrendering. Take care of each other, and don't ever pretend this was easy. She walked into the rain without looking back. Bruno stood frozen, rain plastering his hair to his face, guilt carving deep lines into his expression. Risset moved to him slowly, hesitantly, and when she touched his arm, he flinched, not away, but inward. I didn't win, she whispered. It doesn't feel like winning. He pulled her into his chest then, finally, desperately, arms wrapping around her as if the world might take her too. She felt his heartbeat, fast and uneven, felt the tremor in his breath. Love isn't a prize, he murmured into her hair. It's a responsibility. They stood there in the rain, holding each other amid the wreckage, knowing that something beautiful had begun only because something else had ended. And somewhere down the street, Jennie walked alone, crying openly now, each step both a wound and a promise, to herself, that one day loving wouldn't hurt this much. The headlines exploded before sunrise. Risset woke to the sound of her phone vibrating endlessly on the nightstand, the room still dim, the taste of rain and tears lingering in her mouth like a bad dream that refused to fade. Bruno was asleep beside her on the couch, one arm thrown over his eyes, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. For one fragile moment, she considered not looking, pretending the world hadn't already found them. She looked anyway. Photos, blurry, rain-soaked, unmistakable. Bruno chasing Jennie into the street. Risset standing frozen under the streetlight. Captions dripping with speculation, accusations, betrayal. Names twisted into weapons. Friendship turned into scandal overnight. Bruno sat up the moment he heard her sharp inhale. What is it? They saw us, Risay whispered. Her hands were shaking as she turned the screen toward him. All of it. He swore under his breath, running a hand through his hair. Damn it, I should have known someone was there. Before either of them could say more, the doorbell rang. 3 sharp knocks, urgent, unforgiving. Risay's heart dropped. No. Bruno stood already tense. Stay here. But she didn't. Jennie stood in the hallway, sunglasses hiding her eyes despite the early hour, hair pulled back too tightly, jaw set like armor. She looked smaller than usual, thinner, as if the night had taken something from her that sleep couldn't return. So, Jennie said, voice flat, this is where you ended up. Bruno stepped forward. Jennie, this isn't. She held up a hand. Don't, not yet. She turned to Risay, head tilting slightly. I just did a live interview. Risay's breath caught. You what? I told them the truth, Jennie said calmly. Or at least my truth, that I loved him, that I was rejected, that I walked away. Bruno's face went pale. Why would you do that? Because they were going to rip it out of me anyway, Jennie snapped, the calm cracking at last. Because I was done protecting everyone but myself. Silence stretched, thick and dangerous. Risay stepped closer, voice trembling. What did you say about us? Jennie finally removed her sunglasses. Her eyes were red, swollen, furious. I said you didn't steal him. I said he chose you, and I said it destroyed me. Bruno exhaled shakily. Thank you. Jennie laughed, sharp and humorless. Don't thank me. I didn't do it for you. I did it because I refused to be painted as the jealous friend who couldn't move on. She took a step closer to Risay now, close enough that Risay could feel the heat of her anger, her pain. But don't mistake honesty for forgiveness. Risay swallowed hard. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Good, Jennie replied, because I don't know if I'll ever have it to give. Bruno stepped between them instinctively. Hey, enough, we're not enemies. Jennie's gaze snapped to him. No, Bruno, we're casualties. Her phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, lips pressing into a thin line. The company wants a statement. Joint, clean, controlled. Bruno shook his head immediately. No, I'm not hiding behind PR. That's easy for you to say, Jennie shot back. You get to love out loud. I get to clean up the wreckage. Risay felt something snap inside her then. Stop, she said suddenly, louder than she meant to. Both of them turned to her, surprised. Stop acting like I'm untouched by this. I didn't ask for this either. I'm being torn apart too. Jennie studied her for a long moment, eyes searching. Then prove it. How? Risay asked. Don't disappear, Jennie said. Don't hide behind him. Stand next to me when this burns. Bruno frowned. That's not fair. I didn't say it was, Jennie cut in. But if you love her, really love her, then you'll let her choose. Risay looked at Bruno, really looked. The man she loved. The man whose hand she had held in the dark, whose truth had shattered everything. I'll do it, she said quietly. The statement, together, all 3 of us. Bruno stared at her. Risay. I won't let you carry this alone, she said, tears pooling. And I won't let Jennie either. Jennie's breath hitched just for a second. She looked away quickly. You're braver than I thought. Risay smiled sadly. I'm terrified. They stood there, 3 lives tangled beyond repair, knowing the world would judge them by fragments, never by the full story. Outside, cameras were already gathering. Questions sharpened like knives. As they stepped toward the door together, Jennie paused, her hand hovering over the handle. After today, she said softly, nothing will ever be the same. Bruno nodded. I know. Jennie glanced back one last time, her gaze lingering on Risay. I hope he's worth it. Risay met her eyes, heart aching. So do I. The door opened. Light flooded in. And with it came the noise, the chaos, the consequences of choosing love in a world that demanded perfection. The press room smelled like cold coffee and tension. Cameras clicked nonstop, flashes exploding like small detonations as the 3 of them walked in together. Risay felt the heat of the lights against her skin, the murmur of reporters swelling into a roar. Bruno's shoulder brushed hers, subtle, grounding, while Jennie walked a half step ahead, chin lifted, expression unreadable. They sat. The silence before the first question was worse than the shouting. "Bruno," a voice called out sharply, "did you betray Jennie?" "Risay," another cut in, "were you hiding this relationship while pretending to be her closest friend?" "Jennie," someone else shouted, "are you the victim here?" Jennie leaned toward the microphone before anyone could stop her. "I'm not a victim," she said clearly. "I'm a person who loved honestly and got hurt. There's a difference." A ripple moved through the room. Bruno swallowed. "This isn't a story about betrayal," he said. "It's about truth arriving late." A reporter scoffed. "Convenient truth." Risay's hands trembled, but she raised her head. "I won't let this be reduced to something cheap," she said, voice shaking yet firm. "We didn't plan this. We didn't want this. But we refuse to lie." "Even if it cost your friendship?" someone asked. Risay turned to Jennie then, right there in front of everyone. "I lost her," she said softly, "and that's something I'll grieve for the rest of my life." Jennie's eyes flickered. For the first time, the armor cracked. After the conference, the hallways were chaos. Managers arguing, phones ringing, voices overlapping. Jennie broke away first, heading toward the exit, shoulders tight. Risay followed her. "Jennie, please." They stopped in an empty corridor, the noise fatting behind them like a distant storm. "I meant what I said," Jennie said without turning around. "Don't chase me out of guilt." "I'm not," Risay replied. "I'm chasing you because I miss you." Jennie let out a bitter laugh. "Already?" "Always," Risay whispered, "even when I'm standing next to him." That did it. Jennie turned, eyes blazing. "Do you have any idea how cruel that sounds? You get the man, and you still want my comfort." "I want my friend," Risay cried. "I want the person who used to sit on my bed at 3 a.m. and tell me I wasn't alone." Jennie's voice dropped, trembling. "You were, I was." They stared at each other, years of shared memories pressing in. Behind them, Bruno appeared hesitant. "Maybe I should go." "No," Jennie said sharply, then paused. "No, stay. This is about all of us." She stepped closer to him. "Do you know what hurts the most? Not that you didn't love me. It's that you let me hope." Bruno nodded slowly, eyes wet. "That's on me. I was a coward." Jennie studied him, searching for something, regret, maybe, or proof that her love had mattered. Finally, she exhaled. "I don't hate you," she said, "but I can't watch you love her." Risay felt tears spill freely now. "Then let me go first." Jennie blinked. "What?" "I'll step back," Risay said, voice breaking. "From the spotlight, from the noise, from you if that's what it takes for you to breathe again." Bruno turned to her sharply. "Risay, don't." "This is my choice," she said, looking at him with a sadness that terrified him. "Love shouldn't erase compassion." Jennie stared at her, stunned. "You do that?" "Yes," Risay whispered. "Because I didn't just fall in love, I lost something too." Silence swallowed them. Then Jennie shook her head slowly. "You don't get to punish yourself for loving someone," she said. "That's my lesson, not yours." She stepped back, creating space between them. "I need time," she added quietly. "Real time, away from both of you." Bruno nodded. "You'll have it." Jennie looked at Risay one last time. "Take care of him," she said. "He breaks in ways the world doesn't see." Risay nodded through tears. "So do you." Jennie walked away without looking back, her footsteps echoing down the corridor, steady despite everything. Bruno reached for Risay's hand once they were alone. She let him take it, but her grip was fragile, uncertain. "Are we selfish?" she asked him. He pulled her into his arms, resting his forehead against hers. "Maybe," he said softly, "but we're honest." She closed her eyes, breathing him in, knowing that love had chosen them, but not without scars. And somewhere between the noise of the world and the quiet of their hearts, they understood that surviving this would take more than passion. It would take patience, accountability, and the courage to live with the consequences of a love that refused to stay hidden. The hotel room was too quiet for what was coming. Risay sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on her knees, staring at the carpet as if it might give her an answer. Bruno stood by the window, curtains half drawn, watching paparazzi lights flicker like distant lightning. The city hummed below them, alive and merciless. "This silence is louder than the crowd," Risset said suddenly. Bruno turned. "We don't have to talk if you're not ready." She laughed softly, broken. "That's the problem. I think we've talked too much and still not enough." He crossed the room, stopping a step away, careful, as if she might vanish if he moved too fast. "Tell me what you're afraid of." She looked up at him then, eyes red-rimmed but fierce. "That one day you'll wake up and realize you destroyed too much for me, that you'll resent me for it." His breath caught. "I chose you." "I know," she said, "and that terrifies me." A knock interrupted them, sharp, insistent. Bruno stiffened. "No." Another knock, louder. Risset stood. "I'll get it." When she opened the door, Jennie stood there again. No sunglasses this time, no armor, just her, raw, eyes glossy, hands shaking despite her attempt to steady them. "We need to talk," Jennie said. "Now." Bruno appeared behind Risset instantly. "Is this a bad time?" Jennie laughed bitterly. "Every time is a bad time. Let me in." The door closed behind her, sealing the room with tension so thick it felt like oxygen was running out. Jennie paced, running a hand through her hair. "I wasn't going to come," she admitted. "I promised myself I wouldn't, but then I saw the footage replayed again and again, and something inside me snapped." Risset swallowed. "Jennie." "Don't soften it," Jennie cut in, turning sharply. "I didn't come here for comfort." Bruno crossed his arms. "Then what did you come for?" "The truth," Jennie said. "The part you haven't said yet." She faced him fully now. "When did you fall in love with her?" The question hung, dangerous and electric. Bruno hesitated. Risset felt it immediately. The pause, the wait. "Before the night you admitted it," Jennie added quietly. "Before the car, before everything." Bruno closed his eyes. "It wasn't a moment," he said. "It was a slow collapse. I fought it, I really did." Jennie nodded, tears spilling freely now. "That's what I needed to hear." Risset stepped forward, voice trembling. "Why?" "Because it means I wasn't imagining it," Jennie said. "I wasn't crazy. I wasn't stupid for loving you." She wiped her cheeks angrily. "Do you know how humiliating it is to question your own heart?" Bruno's voice broke. "I never wanted to make you doubt yourself." "I know," Jennie whispered. "That's why this hurts so much." She turned to Risset then, eyes sharp. "And you, do you ever wonder if loving him cost you your integrity?" Risset flinched but didn't look away. "Every day." Silence crashed between them. Then Jennie laughed softly, shaking her head. "God, listen to us. We sound like a tragedy pretending to be adults." She walked to the door, then stopped, hand on the handle. "I'm leaving tomorrow, for real. Different country, different schedule, no overlap." Risset's chest tightened. "You don't have to disappear." "I do," Jennie said. "If I stay, I'll keep bleeding, and I refuse to make my pain your punishment." She looked back at Bruno one last time. "Love her well," she said simply. "If you break her, I'll never forgive you." Bruno nodded, eyes wet. "I won't." Jennie's gaze softened briefly toward Risset. "And don't shrink yourself to fit his shadow. You shine too brightly for that." The door closed behind her, with a quiet finality that felt heavier than any slam. Risset sank onto the bed, finally letting herself cry deep, shaking sobs that tore through her chest. Bruno knelt in front of her, pulling her into him as she clutched his shirt like a lifeline. "I didn't want it to be like this," she gasped. "I know," he murmured, pressing his lips to her hair. "But loving you was never a mistake." She pulled back slightly, searching his face. "Promise me something." "Anything." "If one day this love starts hurting more people than it heals," she said, voice barely steady, "we'll face it together. No hiding, no pretending." He rested his forehead against hers. "I promise." Outside, the city kept watching, waiting for the next crack, the next headline, the next scandal. Inside the room, two people held each other amid the wreckage, knowing that love had chosen them, but survival would demand more than passion. It would demand courage. The airport lounge was wrapped in glass and whispers. Risay spotted Jennie instantly, standing near the gate, coat draped over her arm, posture straight like she'd rehearsed how to leave without breaking. Bruno slowed beside Risay, his hand hovering, unsure whether to reach for her or let her walk alone. Risay didn't wait. She crossed the distance as if pulled by gravity, heart hammering so hard it drowned out the announcements. "Jennie," she said. Jennie turned. For a split second, something tender flickered, then vanished. "You shouldn't be here." "I know," Risay replied. "I still am." Bruno stopped a few steps back, giving them space that felt like a wound he'd chosen to keep open. Travelers passed, rolling suitcases clicking like a countdown. "You made it harder," Jennie said quietly. "Coming here." Risay swallowed. "Leaving without goodbye would have broken me." Jennie's jaw tightened. Goodbyes are overrated. They pretend to be closure. A beat. The gate agent called for boarding in the background, a metallic voice slicing the air. "Say it," Jennie added. "Whatever you came to say before I lose my nerve." Risay stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I didn't take him from you." "I know," Jennie said. "That's not what hurts." "Then what does?" Jennie's eyes lifted, bright, dangerous. "That he chose you and the world applauded the honesty while I was told to be gracious. That I had to be the strong one because it looked better." Risay nodded, tears threatening. "I hate that." "Hatred won't fix it," Jennie replied. "Truth might." She turned her gaze past Risay to Bruno. "Come here." Bruno hesitated, then moved forward. His presence drew stares, phones lifted. The lounge hummed. "Say it to my face," Jennie said to him. Not as a headline, not as a statement, as a man. Bruno met her eyes. "I fell in love with her," he said steadily. "And I stayed quiet because I was afraid of hurting you. That fear became cruelty." Jennie exhaled, a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. "There it is." She looked at Risay. "You see, that's the part I needed. Not apologies, accountability." Risay reached out instinctively, then stopped herself. "I'll carry my share," she said. "Publicly, privately, however long it takes." Jennie studied her, searching for cracks. "You think love is enough to survive this?" "No," Risay answered. "I think it's the beginning of work." A murmur rippled as someone recognized them fully. A security guard shifted closer. The gate agent called again. Jennie glanced at the departure screen. "Time." Bruno stepped forward, voice rough. "I'm sorry I let hope sit between us." Jennie's expression softened just a fraction. "Hope isn't the enemy," she said. "Silence is." She shouldered her bag, then paused. "One more thing." Risay held her breath. "Don't turn this into a myth," Jennie said. "No destiny, no stolen glances made heroic. If you're going to be together, let it be ordinary, let it be hard, let it be honest." Risay nodded. "I will." Jennie leaned in, close enough that only Risay could hear. "And if he ever stops choosing you with his actions, walk. Don't stay pretty for pain." Risay's voice broke. "I won't." Jennie straightened, then did something no one expected. She pulled Risay into a brief, fierce hug, no tears, no hesitation, then released her before the moment could fracture. "For what it's worth," Jennie said, turning to Bruno, "don't make her smaller to protect your image. Love doesn't survive that." Bruno nodded. "I hear you." She stepped away, handed her boarding pass, and walked down the jet bridge without looking back. The crowd exhaled. Phones lowered. The moment passed, but it left a mark. Outside, rain streaked the tarmac like thin scars. Risay stood frozen until Bruno touched her elbow. "She's gone," he said gently. "I know," Risay replied. "That doesn't mean she's finished with us." They left the airport together, but the drive was quiet, different from that first night. Not numb, focused. At the apartment, Bruno set his keys down and turned to her. "We can stop," he said, "if this is too much." Risay met his gaze, steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Don't offer exits you don't mean." He stepped closer. "I mean choice." She nodded. Then choose me again, not with promises, with practice. He took her hands, palms warm, grounding. I choose you, he said. Today, tomorrow, when it's ugly. She leaned her forehead against his. Then I choose the truth, even when it costs. Outside, the city kept spinning, hungry for spectacle. Inside, two people began the unglamorous work of love, listening, numbing fear, refusing the easy lie. And somewhere in the sky, Jennie flew forward, carrying her pain like a passport, proof that she had loved deeply and would again on her own terms.